To have new and selected poems come out is a wonderful thing. To have it come out in the middle of the pandemic when you can't gather and travel is kind of tricky. So my first poem is The Genie. I feel that every day we have choices about how we're going to face the world. And I wrote this poem from the point of view of the genie in Aladdin's lamp. The genie. The dancing girl in the yellow silk pants shimmered in my dream. She was a flame that kept burning in the morning. If I bring her to Aladdin, I can gaze into her chocolate eyes and lose myself in the maze of her footsteps. Aladdin thinks I am his servant, but every morning I weave a dream into the world where he walks by the river. I hold my prism in the river of sunlight, each wave a color of possibility to weave footsteps into the world I paint every morning. I can dream or disappear into the longing for the light that becomes invisible inside the bronze of my lamp. Every morning you choose to dance or disappear. Hey, it's really fun reading to you. I just remember being in the library with you last time, and what a great group this is. So sending lots of appreciation to all of you. My second poem is Leap. It's a poem in 3 parts for Victor Phillips, who guided me into my first leap. As a poet, I always like to explore new territory. Part 3 is about the idea of reincarnation. So it begins in Iowa, then it goes to the stage of the San Francisco Ballet, and then it goes, you'll see. Leap for Victor Phillips. 1. He said, if you dance your poems, you will feel them in your body. You will become a bird, an orbiting planet, a shooting star. We were in a chapel at a small university in Iowa, his arms well trained in ballet. What I most remember about that night is when he said leap and put me into a lift, an amazing way to fly. At that time in our lives, we were all searching for elusive perfect forms in the sky garden of meditation, the music of touch, and the joy of leaping. We were reading Castaneda, the Bhagavad Gita, Robert Bly, Mirabai, Rumi, Yoga Vasishta, tumbling in angst and joy. I read about the green flash in an Annie Dillard book, then saw it for the first time over the temple by the lake in Pokhara, Nepal, after 24 days of trekking around Annapurna. Flying monkeys in every direction, a vision from a Himalayan dream. 2. You can see a light around him as he sits on the stage at the San Francisco Ballet before the performance of Don Quixote. He's been training to do this leap, this moment, all of his life. He says to himself, Basilio, don't worry, just dance. Legs, are you still there? In the wings, he gathers feathers, then leaps onto the stage, loving the moment, having a great time. He's laughing at windmills, and behind a curtain, Sancho is ready to ride on a white donkey. And Dulcinea, you know she's looking at you, even when her eyes seem to be somewhere else. On the stage, you cannot hide anything. The music takes you inside. Now, leap. Nureyev whispers, if I did it, you can do it. It's his choreography, beautiful but terrifying. Basilio is ready to lift his partner with one hand. Dulcinea, this is your moment. Leap. Classical ballet is so hard. You fall, you get up, you try. You leap through the ring of fire until you do the impossible. I think of my friend in the chapel, that night of poetry, my first leap. If it hadn't been for the AIDS epidemic, he would still be dancing. 3. 20 years later, he is a hummingbird streaking across my garden. The green dance of early morning, a glissando waterfall dip, calla lilies stretching toward a light that has been traveling through time. At the edge of the sunset, a tidal shift, a green feather, the sky field of aurora borealis, rippled light. Somewhere in a dream, he steps out of a garden of strangers into a whir of grasshoppers and slides down the earth tunnel, shivering and shimmering. As he pulses through the birth canal, full of prayers and promises, undiscovered constellations are looking at themselves through his eyes. Thank you, thank you. My next poem is Tree of Life. Poets often serve as the conscience of the society. I lost a very dear friend during the shooting at the Tree of Life Synagogue 3 years ago. Jerry was in my circle of friends, not just somebody on the other side of the room. And I woke up with this poem 4 days after the shooting. Tree of Life, Kaddish for Dr. Jerry Rabinowitz. It's a form of praying to hold the darkness inside yourself and embrace it the way you would hold water in a flowing river. To wake up with tears flowing from a dream, your face a field of milkweed as the pods scatter in a wind of prayer, embracing the growing cold. I remember where he sat by the window at the bottom of the floodplain, where the rivers emptied into the street that afternoon, fire trucks creating a wake as they moved through the water. And when the bullets came, he ran toward the shattering souls, following his instincts, always to help, to heal the wounded and the dying. His friends hold each other, reaching out through time and a dark river, holding seeds planted long ago by the Tree of Life, say Kaddish in front of an open ark of the covenant. He would want you to find your light and embrace it again, to walk back into the forest we call the world. Hold his memory the way you would hold his face. Let his voice ripple through time. Where the trunk of a redwood tree, thick with the rings of centuries, was burned by lightning, shine your light into the dark world. It's really, really a hard way to lose a friend. I hope it never happens to you. And I always speak against gun violence at every reading I do at least once. So thank you for listening. And then I'm going to read something much lighter. This is about an experience in meditation, a very gentle poem. This is called Somewhere in Tibet or In My Mind. Late at night, I think about atoms and stars, layers of infinity, reaching out to the far expanse of the universe where there is no edge, reaching into the core of atoms, layer after layer of particles, energy, light. There is something even beyond this, which I can feel, but don't completely understand. Somewhere on a mountain in India or Tibet, a monk is chanting sutras and carving mani stones. He sees what I see as a goddess with 1,000 arms, and the mountain whispers her name. One of the things about Nepal is that all of the mountains have names of goddesses. I think that is just so special. They're all sacred. There are some poems that stay with you as you travel through time, and this is one of them. In the Voices of the Birds. What I most remember about Christopher is the way he knew the names of all the birds at dawn by their songs. His corn silk blonde hair, blue overalls, no shirt, the strength of his shoulders, and the way we stayed awake all night. There was light in his touch between the birds. They flew in and out of his fingers, and birds outside our window, a window we couldn't open again that way. We met when we could after that in Iowa, Switzerland, San Francisco, in borrowed cabins by two different oceans. You took me to my brother's wedding in a red pickup truck, made fun of the priest and his future mother-in-law, which you claimed permission to do because you were Catholic. I remember the way you hurt me, what you said, and the sentence I typed on your portable Smith Corona in Nantucket before I left for the last time. It was November with a light dusting of snow over the sand. The pebbles on the beach hid their messages. On separate sides of the continent, we listened to different oceans and slammed our lives shut. You in Brooklyn Heights with your 2-year-old son on your shoulder, me in San Francisco, climbing the long hill to 24th Street. 12 years later, holding your first book of poems in my hands, I am hungry for memories, hungry for every word, hungry for any hint of a message where I might find myself. In the inscription you write, there are histories in this book you may be familiar with because you were there. I am not the arms where you will rest your head when you're 80 years old, but I always hear you in the voices of the birds. And there's some poems where you have to travel through time to understand them. This is a poem called Thornton Park, which was just on the outskirts of Syracuse University. And the poem is about what it was like for me to be 19 years old. Thornton Park. In memory, everything is green. Aurora glowing in the sky over a mountain, green light filling a room, tropical leaves in the greenhouse, green love, a green hill, sliding with friends on cafeteria trays down a path of snow. We were green in our knowledge of the world, on our backs in the amphitheater under a sky show of stars. Through a telescope from an attic window, my first view of the rings of Saturn. In a blizzard during a snowstorm, my first ride in a snow mover with giant wheels. In the stacks of the university library, I was always searching for poets with women's names. Diane Prima, Adrienne Rich, Denise Levertov. In the house on the other side of Thornton Park, he dreamed of intricate, interweaving melodies. I dreamed about my father, music and moonlight through a stained glass window. Later, I watched an artist friend sew legs on the bottom of a painting of two women when she ran out of canvas. The women leaned into the colors the sky turns before the light disappears. Everything on an impulse. Jump into the green VW Bug, drive to Niagara Falls at night to see the moonbow on tumbling water, a shimmering silver white arc. In April, drive to Key West during spring vacation, sleep on the beach with the salty blue ocean crashing into our dreams. Everyone too absorbed in self-discovery to understand the ocean of tears that fell out of what they touched and let go of. Climbing ladders and scaffolds of buildings under construction. We were under construction. Yes, our lives were like that, green in those days. I have two more, if that's okay. I'm going to read a poem about playing cello. This is called Kaddish for My Mother. Along with being a poet, I'm a cellist in the Golden Gate Symphony. And I discovered with saying a Kaddish that I prefer to play it on the cello than to chant an ancient prayer in Aramaic. That doesn't do very much for me. And Matt Arnerich, a very gifted composer up here, wrote an orchestral piece for my Tree of Life poem, which we performed with the Golden Gate Symphony. It begins with me on the podium with the conductor. I read the poem, then I walk to the cello section to play. And the core of it is the Kaddish, a cello solo, and it is very beautiful, not easy to play, and during that concert, my husband played the solo. So this is Kaddish for my mother. You need to play this music the way colors blur and intensify at sunset. Wrap your legs around the wood and lean into the sound. This piece demands that you reach into a deeper part of yourself and access more power. It makes you climb higher on the fingerboard and learn how to do it musically. Saying an ancient prayer in Aramaic does not give you the emotions you feel from these strings, tears in the vibrato, the voice of a tenor cantor. You never did this before? Now climb the ladder of these notes. Listen and make your fingers wail the vibrato this piece requires. And suddenly, ancient cities are revealed to you, your mother's voice, the emotions. She could inspire a room full of worshipers to feel music inside a prayer, indigo threads inside the weaving of a prayer shawl. The wood from the Black Forest whispers its secrets. Priestesses who knew the mysteries are chanting from your strings. When you were a girl, your mother sang to you every night two lullabies, her voice rocking like a cradle in the trees. Lean into your cello now with your arms, your heart, your knees, the echo of her voice. Thank you. And my final poem, Turtle Island. In the Native American tradition, the earth is called Turtle Island. So I started there. What if the world was created by a giant turtle swimming across the sky at the beginning of time? What if the turtle carried dreams in her belly, giving birth to fish and stars? What if the high-flying tern marked the world lines of space and time with nets of aurora borealis? What if the donkey said, the humans are a joke, spinning through space, juggling fire and ice? What if the crab said, crawl sideways if you want to uncover the dreams that are painted inside of shells? What if the moon said, the night will tell you secrets if you listen to the music inside of stones? What if the shark said, you will discover fish that glow like lanterns in deeper currents of ocean water? What if the octopus said, your dreams are tentacles into a future filled with fish and golden apples? What if the turtle keeps swimming out of the sky to a universe hidden somewhere else? What if the buffaloes stampede with their ancestors across the Great Plains under an ocean of sky? Buffalo Woman says, the world is a dream or nightmare. Weave your visions with tender hands. Thank you very much.